Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are we doing? I wanted to do a video about don't short yourself on the long-term, long game of long fi HNT helium. And so yeah, we're doing a video about that today. Let me turn this off. All right. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this, the market's obviously crashing all over the place. I kind of got out of a bunch of stuff because I feel like getting in until like all of this stuff is going to crash like crazy. I think till like 20k for Bitcoin or 25k for Bitcoin, and I think a lot of these projects will die off. So I kind of wanted to come in with a little bit of hope, and you know, like people who've been around for 3 or 4 years, like other stuff that are out there that are blockchain powered or have a new technology in them and a blockchain element that will see the future, will be something that'll be even bigger in the years to come. So I wanted to do something about that today. So let me have a quick look at doing this. That's the wrong thing. Let's put that on instead. There we go. I want to have a quick look at Helium today. HNT, Helium, LongFi, and what's happening out there in the ecosystem. Obviously, like every other crypto right now, Helium has taken a massive big dent, down 23%, down to $9.76, which I think is still pretty healthy for the fact that you just buy a box for $350, $400, if you can get your hands on one, stick it in a window with an internal aerial, and it basically does challenges to other boxes as proof of coverage nearby, and you can earn HNT tokens for it. Now, yes, okay, if you bought it in the sense of like, I want to pay it back as soon as possible and I want it to like make its money back, that may take a little longer for now, and so it might not look like a good opportunity to buy a HNT device or a LongFi device, LoRawan device. But I want to put an argument together for that today in terms of why these very things, these very easily packaged hardware units, is actually what's going to bring the general public on board to blockchain and blockchain projects. They may never read a white paper, they may never participate or engage in a community, but people can understand the idea of a ready to go, all installed box with a really nicely designed app, I must add, that you can see something happening. You know, on a daily basis, you can see the challenges and the blocks and everything that's happening, and then it gives them a dollar amount of how much HNT their box has participated in the challenges back and forth between these boxes for the proof of coverage. Most people would understand proof of coverage. Maybe they don't know about proof of work or any of the other consensus methods, and that's fine, because actually the majority of people don't care about that stuff. When they put money in a bank, they don't necessarily care how their money is stored, where it's stored. They just want to be able to get money out of the ATM whenever they feel like it. So I wouldn't worry too much about price right now. I really wouldn't get like heated about it. The things that you really want to be looking at is their roadmap, but also have a dig through what's actually happening with their network. So when I last looked at Helium, HNT, LongFi, LoRawan, they had probably about 40,000 nodes online, and now we're up to 63,000 hotspots dotted across the world. China literally came online maybe about a month back, and there's places around the world, somewhere in India, that suddenly started to pop up, or what's called in the industry lit, like a fiber line that's dark, or it's not got any light going through, it's not connected. When a certain area of fiber is lit, they say the fiber is lit, it's lit up. We've got places popping up that didn't exist before. So I personally think the slowdown right now of this figure not being 100,000 and plus is that the manufacturers just simply can't get the boxes out fast enough to the people who want to buy them. And there's a lot more going on here than just that price, right? And just HNT, and I want to try and get that across to people in this. So obviously the more boxes that go out there, the more chance that the price will get less, especially people that are selling it for other stuff. But I want to make a case for how I think this is going to pan out. One of the things that you have to understand about Helium is it was one of the very first blockchains. Let me go back to the normal thing. It's one of the very first blockchains that really, oh Jesus, where am I doing it? There you go. It's one of the very first blockchains that I know that uses LoRaWAN and a blockchain together. Now there might be other projects, simple projects that are out there, but they didn't have the reach. And it's an interesting story, because LoRaWAN, this new technology, was kind of like a little box experiment PCB board, a project looking for an audience, right? And so the only way that really LoRaWAN, the technology, and LongFi takes off as a technology is if there's a lot of units out there in the world, a lot of meshed units in the world. And so it was kind of very, hobbyist. A couple of people will probably put up towers 5-10 kilometers away in Berlin, and they could send sensor data to each other in terms of weather or sensors, Internet of Things sensors around the house, that then go through a very small narrow band channel like the LongFi LoRaWAN devices. So it was a project looking for an audience, really. And then comes a lot, and so for a couple of years it didn't really grow. I mean, there was still a lot of sensors, and there still is a lot of sensors out there that are running on Internet of Things and using a little bit of a off the grid, off the corporation backhaul to report of like temperatures inside of greenhouses or like bee farms and things like that. So kind of very niche, very hobbyist. So I think the blockchain element of it with the proof of coverage really brought an audience to LoRaWAN and LongFi. And I think they are hardware products that are just going to get better. You're going to get better boxes, you're going to get better range. There's a whole bunch of things to come now that it's kind of proven the market, right? Once we start seeing 100,000 units, 500,000 units, that's going to make things really, really interesting to me. I mean, you can look at the map, you can see that we've got like massive cross section in the US and Europe and the UK, and then China down here, a little bit of like stuff dotted up here. I think that's probably Russia up the top there. So election times is an hour. That's increased by 30 minutes. Block time is 69 seconds, and the current price is $9.76. And then there's a rewards halvening on August the 1st, so that should affect the price massively as well. Here's the thing, right? The thing is with this network of these boxes that have been sold, is that it's such a genius idea for proof of coverage, because you're connecting it up to Wi-Fi in your house, and I presume there's some kind of future plan to utilize this, what is generally a public network, right? Because it's the general public who've put it together. It's not necessarily owned by one entity. It's a meshed network of connected devices by LoRaWAN and LongFi. And so just like I see dotted across all of the site with these like graphics and different things about micropayments and device roaming and all that, I keep seeing other stuff that pops up, like the industrial tracker. So literally this came out yesterday, a industrial tracker to perform seamless Internet of Things tracking for inventory, livestock, and practically any other heavy duty asset with up to 5 years of battery, transmitting 1 GPS location per hour. So like when you start having a public mesh network that doesn't necessarily have any loopholes or legislation to jump through, because it's your home machine and you've put that box in your house, you own it effectively, and you become a node in that overall meshed network. So we're not talking about a centralized entity here. We're not like going through one company to have 5G or for Wi-Fi, or going to somebody for backhaul. It's a distributed public open network, fairly open anyway. This is why I still get excited about Helium, and I definitely will be getting 2 or 3 of these boxes and making sure that they're within 5-10 kilometers of each other to challenge each other. I personally think that a lot of these things will I didn't show you this, did I? Sorry, my bad. I think a lot of these things will end up becoming like an app store for LoRaWAN LongFi apps. So you might be concerned that right now you've bought one of these boxes, or you're waiting for these boxes, and you've seen the price tumble from like $18 down to $9, and you're thinking, oh Jesus, I'm not going to get my money back on this thing, like it's a bit of a dud. I think that's the wrong way to look at it. I personally think that these boxes will get better the more nodes that are out there, because they can just launch a app marketplace in the same way that the Asus WRT54G modem ended up having open source firmware for it and spawning a bunch of other devices. There's no reason why you can't download maybe in the future like an ISO or a setup to be part of another network. Now, I'm not saying that this will be able to do multiple like applications at once, but we have seen programs come out like Umbrella, which is a kind of Bitcoin node on a Raspberry Pi with an app store of other apps that you can bolt on to do kind of donations and basically become your own bank. So I kind of see this hardware technology getting better to the point that you may be able to hook into 4 or 5 different projects that use the power of proof of coverage over those 100,000 mesh networks, in the same way that those like downloadable screensavers that you get where you're folding, you know, using your GPU to fold maths to work out, you know, DNA protein structures for AIDS viruses and vaccines and things like that. I can definitely see that something like this, an initial investment of 300, 400 pounds for this box, and you'll probably grow with it and upgrade it as you go, just to be part of this network. So I'm not worried or concentrating too much at all about Helium right now and Helium's price. I see this as something that will be almost like the killer app. It's kind of underneath the radar, but I feel like this is the killer app for blockchain right now, or killer hardware for blockchain. I think the killer app will be their app store for LongFi and LoRawan devices. I'm kind of interested what other people think of it, but I feel like this validates the LoRawan LongFi technology, that they've built such a big mesh network. I know there isn't other networks obviously for LoRawan, but they're very hobbyist. You know, like you'll buy an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi, you'll download some Python and you'll get it to report back little bits of snippets of information. Maybe you don't have like connectivity within 10 kilometers of your estate and you have like a bee farm at the bottom of it or whatever. Like, you don't have to have a connectivity package from your cell provider. You can just send this over the air using LongFi from one LoRawan device to another LoRawan device. So that gets really powerful then, because as a person looking for lots of data sets, and it might be that, you know, you set up like a global LongFi association for beekeepers, right? You can tap in to this Helium network or this Helium data set, or create your own firmware, your own box, your own hardware, your own software, and reach out to that existing audience of people who have already been onboarded, already been making HNT, understand the process of proof of coverage, and, you know, change after a couple of years, repurpose that hardware into another project. So I get really excited about hardware like this, because, you know, this is kind of what happened with smartphones, right? We subsidized the smartphones, we brought the price down by like subsidizing phones so you can get them cheaply. This hardware is incredibly cheap, easy to roll out. There's lots of software already for it, and now we have the added element to this that they've rolled in that blockchain consensus reward mechanism into this, and you don't have to know anything about it. You can just spend $300, $400, buy the box, stick it in your window, put the arrow on it, power it up, connect up the app, and you're creating proof of coverage. You're accepting challenges and handshakes from other boxes in the nearby area, therefore increasing the reach of that mesh network. Hate it when like sounds go off when you're on your thing. Every time I record in OBS, it should automatically just mute everything. Anyway, kind of interested what you think about that. I'm really excited for Helium. I know my partner's getting hers fairly soon. Once that's set up and once finances allow, I'm definitely going to go down the road of trying to make a bunch of these devices across the area where I live, and then gradually start rolling these out, because I just think that LoRawan and LongFi have got a good 5 or 10 years to go, and you're just going to see better hardware, better aerials, and multiple projects, and somebody is going to run an app store for this. And I'm going to guess that Helium will put together a app store and have an existing like proof of concept to give out to all these people, because they can just say, here's our data set of all the proof of coverage we did on the blockchain. It's a public blockchain. We can make another blockchain, spin up another one for say beekeepers globally, using this 100,000 nodes mesh network, and people can just swap across or add that app into their application and start mining that effectively. Which, you know, when you start looking at all the problems in the world that we've got, the idea of having edge nodes as Internet of Things nodes to be able to report back you know, weather conditions or water conditions or food relaying or just any small data sets that we can just update like hourly, I think it's a no-brainer. We're going to need these kind of devices tracking stuff on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, if we're going to be either competitive or react to what happens in the climate in the years to come. All right, I will catch up with you soon. Take care. I'm going to get back to my flat white. Bye.